Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job of the world options trading program. And I'm going to do a really quickly laws of game session today. And what we're going to talk about is that situation that happened in ATL where those massage parlor workers got murdered by that one guy. And I've talked about this a lot on my old Facebook page. And people really were not receptive to the message. And I've been, one of the reasons why I kind of got off this message, because it was very interesting, is that I had more women than men giving me pushback for this particular message that I was giving out. And really what I'm trying to do is help women by empowering men. And it was very interesting is that many women were more resistant to this message than the men were. And what we're going to talk about is this ATL tragedy and why tricking is to blame. And what we saw happen over the past few days is that there was this guy who I assume frequented massage parlors. And a lot of times in these massage parlors, they front as massage parlors, but then behind the scenes, there's normally some type of sex work going on, right? And so he supposedly or allegedly committed crimes against some women up there in that Ackworth area. And I'm familiar with the area because my ex used to live up there. If not, she may still live up there. Then he came down south into the ATL metro area, but really almost like downtown ATL. And he also committed some more crimes. And I wasn't even aware that there were massage parlors in that area because I was never in Orlando looking to trick. And then they finally caught the guy. I think they said he was trying to flee down to Florida. So what I want you to understand is that this is the end result of being compelled to trick, being bound by the spirit of tricking, and have this relationship with tricking. And you got to really understand is that this is where this thing ends. And so this is why I always encourage men is that you have to try to figure out a way to extract this from your program, because the end result of living this lifestyle a lot of times is you getting involved in pedophilia, right? Or you committing crimes against women. They're going to play this off as this white supremacy thing, right? Well, that may be underlined because we live in America. However, but you got to understand is that if we research this dude, we're going to find out that this man probably was involved in this kind of behavior for a very, very, very long time. And this behavior is a spirit, and you're feeding this spirit. And what the spirit now is going to ask you to do is feed it more and more, and then do more and more extreme acts to feed the spirit. So you get desensitized to this level of it, then now you got to go to another level. Then you get desensitized to that level, now you got to go to another level. And the issue with tricking is that it's $1 billion industry worldwide. So men being compelled to be tricks, it pays for plane flights, it pays for vacations, it supports economies in a lot of third world countries, it buys a lot of condoms. It's one of the reasons why the child support court is so big. So because this is such a big industry, there's really not a drive to stop it because it makes money for so many people. The problem is that it's ruined so many men's lives, right? And so if you're a man and you want to really be productive, you got to get tricking out of your program, right? Life has to be more than trying to figure out how you're going to have sex with a woman, right? Your entertainment can't just be, I'm going to go have sex with a woman. Because my question is, I guarantee if you look at this guy's life, he was not a very productive person. All of his productive energy was going into trying to figure out how can he get involved in these sexual escapades. That's what his productive energy was going into. So instead of him doing something to build something for his family, to build something for his group, he's taking his productive energy and his resources and he's giving it to these women in these massage parlors. And we not down at them, they're feeding a demand. But what I want you to understand is that this is where this always ends up, and nobody wants to talk about that. A lot of women that, where I'm from, we call them prostitutes or hookers. A lot of hookers end up getting killed by tricks. This is not abnormal. The reason why he got caught is because he did it in a way that was really over the top. But if you really understand is that all over the world, right, a lot of tricks kill prostitutes and kill hookers because they have a love-hate relationship with these women, because a trick, part of being a trick and being involved in this kind of behavior is being frustrated all the time. So there's this large degree of frustration. A lot of times it's sexual frustration. And, the only way that a lot of times they feel they can get it out is through violence. And you have this spirit compelling you. And see, what I want you to understand is this. When you're dealing with a spirit, or really in reality, you're dealing with a demon, you open a door to one demon, which now opens a door to other demons. So now you'll get involved in jealousy and envy, and you don't realize is that spirit of jealousy and envy gonna introduce you to the spirit of murder. So you don't know that when you being jealous and envious of somebody. So you get involved into the spirit of tricking, and you don't realize that spirit, or really that demon, is gonna introduce you to another demon. Because you got to understand is that all of these particular spirits, they all have relationships with each other. So you got to really watch what you're engaging in, because I'm going to tell you a really quick story. There's a brother down here, him and his wife started a ministry. This was years ago, like in the 90s. They started a ministry in this area called Pine Hills. They started off at like an elementary school. They built that ministry up to a certain level. They had a nice ministry. They was getting TV shows. They had billboards up in the city. They had a really nice ministry, right? I don't know what happened to this guy. He ended up going inside a strip club with some people he was quote unquote doing business with. He got in that strip club and he got involved with a stripper. We not here to down strippers, but I'm trying to get you to understand the scenario. Him getting involved with that stripper he started having an affair on his wife. And he started taking time away from his family and his wife to deal with this stripper. Long story short, he ended up in a hotel in Baltimore. Dude committed suicide. Let me explain something to you. He started out in Baltimore. So he started out in the hood of Baltimore, in the ghetto, in the low-income area. He worked his way out of that area, got into the ministry, had a successful ministry, but he got compelled and got caught up in the spirit of tricking. Guess where that spirit took him? Right back to Baltimore, right back to a low-income area, right back to the ghetto, where then it introduced him to the spirit of depression, the spirit of self-loathing, which as a result, he ended up killing himself. So he went full circle right back to where he started. That's why you cannot get involved in this stuff. I'm not saying that you're not going to have sexual urges. I'm not saying that you're not going to have a desire to have sex. But we've created a really, really sophisticated mechanism in this world to take a man's sexual energy and sexual urges and to literally get it caught up in a feedback mechanism, right? It's the reason why as much pornography as we produce, the next year we produce even more. Then the next year we produce even more. And it don't matter how much pornography we produce, the person that is consuming the pornography never gets enough of it. You got to ask yourself what's going on when you're engaged in this kind of thing, where you can go on the internet and there's millions of pornographic videos and images, and you know what? You want more of it. So you need to start really understanding what this is actually doing to a person's brain when they're involved in this type of stuff. These men that are dealing with these prostitutes, they can have sex with a prostitute every day of the week. And you know what they're going to want to do that next Monday? Go and do it all over again. It's something going on when you have these kind of urges that are almost compulsive when you can't control it and you're not in control of yourself. So this is how we get to this situation. If you study a lot of these people on the internet, a lot of these quote unquote relationship coaches, especially ones that are talking to men, what they're really doing is dealing with frustrated tricks. These men are upset and they're mad because they cannot have sex with the women that they desire. And so these relationship coaches are quote unquote supposed to explain to you how to have sex with the women that you desire. And really what they're doing is they're feeding more into the spirit of tricking. You don't need to be worried about those women. You need to be worried about doing something with your life. A lot of these people spend too much time on YouTube worrying about women and what women do and yada, yada, yada. And they can't tell you what they have going on. Their whole life is women. And it's because a trick is frustrated. He got a love-hate relationship with a woman. So he likes women. He's attracted to them. He wants to have sex with them. But he's also mad because he can't get things to go the way he wants them to go with these kind of women. This is a problem, and it's destroying a lot of men. Cuomo, same scenario. Doing all kind of weird stuff to that chick. This don't make no sense. So we got to understand is that we've created a very, very dangerous society for men where we promote this kind of behavior to them. We make them think it's part of their masculinity without understanding is that you're dealing with a very, very, very dangerous spirit. There's some very dangerous spirits. Tricking is a dangerous spirit. Violence is a dangerous spirit. I tell you for a fact, you get caught up in the spirit of violence It is very, very dangerous. That spirit will feed on you. You got to realize there are some spirits in this world. Once you develop a relationship with them, it will lead to your downfall. And we see this with the scenario in Atlanta. They're going to paint this as a white supremacist thing because that's how they're going to try to cover it up. This is about tricking. And there's a lot of, and I'm not trying to turn this into like some spooky type stuff, but when you look at Epstein, you look at a lot of these things going on, there's a lot of dark sexual energy that a lot of people feed off of, right? And they use this to try to get power in the world. And they don't realize that those spirits are also feeding off of them, right? Because if we look at Epstein, he ended up either they killed him or he killed himself. But that was the end of his run. And this was a man that dealt with other men that was compelled to be tricks. He was also a trick, and he got involved in procuring women on behalf of those particular men. This is how dangerous of an industry that particular space is, no matter how much they try to clean it up and make it look good. So I want you to really understand that. So I wanted to kind of give it out to you as a laws of the game. If you're a man and you want to figure out how to be productive in this world, you want to have something in your life, you want to have something going for yourself, stay away from anything that resembles tricking. I don't care how cool they try to make it look. I don't care how hip they try to make it look. That I'm a player, I'm dealing with 8 or 9 different women is tricking. It's all tricking, right? Why do you have time for 8 or 9 different women, right? Do you have 8 or 9 different real estate properties, okay? Do you have 8 or 9 different stocks? And what they do is they take men that are quote unquote successful, that have a lot of women, and they point that at regular men and make you think that's supposed to be the definition of success. You got to get away from that. So that's my message. I've been promoting this message on Facebook for years. A lot of people don't really understand it, but I'm against this whole relationship, pickup artists, red pill, blue pill, that whole movement, because what's really underlying that movement is people that really have a desire to trick, and they can't figure out how to trick at a level that is acceptable to their desires. The average man in this society, even married men, and a lot of women, this is upsetting them when I tell them this. If they was to win lotto, they was to go win Powerball tomorrow, they will become the biggest trick in the world. What's stopping them from being a trick is they can't afford it. That's the average man, because this is part of the conditioning, the socialization of men. The average man in this society, if he was to win Powerball tomorrow, he become the biggest trick in the world. He moved to an island, he moved to Vegas, he moved to Miami, and he would just trick off all day. Why? Because that's really what he want to do. He just cannot afford to do it. And it's because of socialization and programming, he really thinks that's what he should be doing if he becomes successful. That's what that guy, the fake poker player, Dan Bilzerian, was selling to a lot of people. He come out with all the women. He's a trick, right? But he's selling an aspirational trick lifestyle to men that want to live that lifestyle, but they just can't make a lot of money. Ty Lopez was selling the same thing to guys. Ty Lopez is, to me, his avatar was, I'm a boss trick, right? What's a boss trick? A guy that can trick at an elite level. Half those chicks that he had with was hookers. I know what a hooker look like. I come out of the game. So he running with a bunch of hookers, selling to a bunch of squares. If you make a lot of money, you can be a boss trick just like me. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Nothing wrong with having nice women around you, right? But I don't understand why you got a bunch of hookers around you, right? And you ain't checking out of them. And I'm not trying to get into that because I know that's not the topic of the conversation. But I used to have the same issue with Floyd. Got a bunch of women around you that are hookers. You ain't checking nothing, but you got a bunch of hookers around you. That's tricking. Floyd is a hell of a fighter, one of the best fighters of all time. Floyd is also a boss trick. That's just a fact of life. Okay? So I want to encourage men to don't let this image of success being a bunch of women around you and you're paying these women to have sex with, and you're made to think, well, because I got a lot of money, that's acceptable, because you're feeding a very, very dark spirit. And a lot of these men behind closed doors have been involved in a lot of violent and dangerous episodes with women, because like I told you before, this spirit will bounce you to other spirits, because all of these spirits are really demons. They all come from the same place. They all know each other, and they all have a relationship with each other. And so they'll use each other to trap you and to get you to go farther and farther down the hole. And then you end up like that guy in Atlanta, or you end up like Epstein, or you end up like Como. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Life rarely ends well for a person that is bound by the spirit of tricking, because eventually it turns in on them and it destroys their life. So this is David W. Williams. This is like a impromptu laws of game session. If you got any comments, hit me up in the comments. Sub out, share it, like, subscribe. Talk to you later.